What's up? Namaste, my friends. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Está bien? ¿Y tú? Yo siendo... No, I'm just kidding. It's about 7 a.m. here in Albany, New York, and I got my coffee. I put a little too much cream in it, so it tastes like cream and not so much coffee. Took a lot of the heat out too, but it's okay. So I got a couple things running through my head, and I like to make these videos because a lot of times when I have stuff running through my head, the process of making a video helps me synthesize it into higher knowledge. So last night there was a concert here in downtown Albany, and our apartment, Chelsea and I's apartment, and my office is basically right here in downtown Albany. And so when there's events, there's nowhere to park, all that type of stuff. And basically what we try to do is we try to get out whenever that stuff's going on, because it's a lot. And I've been noticing more and more there's a level of consciousness that presents itself in the masses. And a lot of us will refer to these as thought forms. There's like a giant thought form, but I'm not going to give it the credit of being a thought form, because thought forms at least have words. And this is a pre-verbal thing, and it's unconscious, and so people aren't able to recognize it. And I'm seeing it more and more. And I've been trying to figure out, what is this? What is this? Like, what is this nonsense that is making itself known? And the question always is, am I just becoming aware of this, or is this something that's new, right? Is this new to me, or is this new in general? And for the most part, it's almost always new to me, like individually. It's not really new completely, right? And so I put a video up before I started recording this, where basically there's a bank in the building that I rent from, and that bank has a little cubbyhole, like a little door between the bank and outside where the ATM is, so you can go in there, use it. And for the most part, like there's a pretty decent homeless issue here in Albany, and there's a homeless issue, right? But on the second part, there's a drunken people issue, right? I don't know if you get, today's Oktoberfest, right? So it's only gonna get worse today. But it's basically a low consciousness issue. It's not really easy to kind of identify it, but it's a low consciousness issue, and so this is why I'm not even calling it a thought form, because I don't think there's words to it. I don't think it has any intelligence at all. I don't think there's any consciousness there at all. And so this is what I'm trying to look at, right? But it's not really something that you can see clearly, right? So there's a gentleman who was sleeping in the ATM area, right? And so I saw him, and my heart always leads the way, so I'm always like compassionate and stuff. And so anyways, last night, like, there's a homeless person. I gave him, Chelsea and I went out to dinner. I gave him one of our leftovers. Accidentally gave hers instead of mine, because hers, there was more left, so I gave it to him, and I didn't check. But anyways, I'm saying this because we take care of the homeless people down here, but the homeless people aren't the problem. The other issue is, when you see somebody sleeping on the street, you don't know if they're homeless, and you don't know if they're drunk. There's two different types of people. Yes, the homeless people get drunk sometimes, but most of the time they're getting drunk because they're homeless. They're not homeless because they're drunks, right? So This guy was not homeless. He had his phone plugged into the wall, all this type of shit. He's not homeless. He gets up, somebody's in there using the ATM, a black guy walks in, an older black guy, and he's just like, he's probably going to fucking work or something. He's just like me. Like, he's up, right? He's there. And so it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I see him, and so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna act like I'm just here doing stuff. I'm really just watching, and so I'm just outside smoking, and the guy walks over and walks in front of me and starts taking a piss between the building and the fucking mailbox. It's like, and I know this is not just a person, because the same issue occurred like 3 or 4 months ago during the St. Patrick's Day celebrations, but it was with Albany firefighters. They weren't sleeping, but they were pissing on buildings and stuff. And so I've realized that this is not this. So, anyways, I made a video of like, I went out and cleaned it up. The dude fucking pissed outside our building, so I like grabbed some fucking water and poured it on there. And so I wanted to document it and make a video that says, hey, we need to appreciate the type of people that we are, the type of people that we allow ourselves to be. I'm the type of person that when I see trash on the ground, for the most part, I pick it up, unless I've been picking up a lot of trash that day or that week, and I'm just like, nah. Because living here in Albany, you can pick up trash all day, and somebody will look right at you, throw some trash down. So it's not like it helps, it just makes you kind of feel better, right? So picking up trash, that's the type of person who I am. I'm also the type of person, this is what I was noting in the video, I'm not the type of person that's gonna get drunk and pass out somewhere. I am the type of person that's gonna clean up after somebody who does that. And Jocko Willink wrote a book called The Dichotomy of Leadership, right? I think this is a great representation of that. The dichotomy, right? We all kind of see this. The same person that gets up at 4 or 5 a.m. is not the same person that's getting drunk until 2:30 a.m., right? Those are not the same people, right? So understanding that, for the most part, that's a completely different type of person, right? And then being able to appreciate that, right? And not from a place of ego, but from a place of understanding who you are, right? And understanding that you have limits to where you're willing to let yourself go, right? To how far you're willing to let yourself fall. And I think for the most part in this world, not enough people have real limits to how far they're willing to let themselves go, right? And I think this goes beyond society and trying to look good for society. I think this has a little bit more to do with intelligence and respect for life, right? And already, for the type of people that I want to hear this conversation is too much for them. So at this point, I'm preaching to the choir. The person that's watching this is not the same person that's getting drunk and falling asleep in the streets, right? You might end up homeless someday, but not because of that. So the issue that we face here is like, okay, how do we communicate this to these people? And the biggest thing is that we can't. And that's the problem, is it's set up for them to not hear us, right? It's just the way it is. And they're setting everything up to not hear us. So it becomes a real cat and mouse game, right? And the best thing that I've found is to just be an example and just to lead by example. And for the most part, it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't have the biggest effect. It's not like people are seeing you be a good person and like they're going back and having self-reflections and self-talks, and really considering who they are as a person, and really trying to figure out where they went wrong in life. That's not what's going on. That's not what's going on at all. And so we find that our society is really being held down in two ways. Yeah, there may be people at the top pushing things down, but there's way more people at the bottom that are pulling society down, right? And that's the biggest thing, the biggest issue that I've been noticing, because I live here and I've been living here, and I'm kind of from that part of society. So I'm at a loss when I kind of trying to think like, how do I help these people? How do I change their hearts or their minds? And yeah, I love Jesus, right? But at a certain point, I really want to believe that love is enough, right? I really want to. And I do believe that given enough love and enough time and enough space, that anything can happen. But I also understand that people are biological creatures, and at a certain point, they make a decision to be who they are. And if you try to counter that, then you're trying to change somebody, and you're not honoring that decision. Who cares if it's right or wrong? But that person still has some sovereignty, and they're allowed life. They have a right to life just as much as you do. And so finding that balance of what to exist in, right, is difficult, especially when we're people like us are so countered every day with what seems to be the opposite of what we resonate with. And what we don't understand is we think there's so much that we face. But the reason we face so much is because who we are. And that's what I want you to see. I want you to realize that the things that are occurring around you are to balance out what's going on inside of you. What does it take to balance something? Think the yin and the yang, right? Yin yang. What does it take to balance something? Almost always there's an equal and an opposite thing, right? Polarities, reactions, force, all that type of stuff. So, if there's all this stuff that seems to be going on outside, and the real game is inside, it's an inside game, life is, and all this stuff seems to be affected you in some type of way, or disturbing in some type of way, or something that you just don't resonate with in some type of way. Well, what's going on inside of you is an equal and the opposite reaction to that. So the more you change inside, the more you evolve inside, the more things will seem to devolve outside. And it's not that things are, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but you're becoming more in tune with yourself. So you rely less on this world, which becomes more unstable, and you rely more on your internal world, which becomes more stable. And so the things that would balance you or set you off out there become the things that hold you still in here, right? And it's kind of hard to explain how that works, but you'll see it. Basically, the way it is the more you do your internal work, the more sensitive you become to the things on the outside, right? And for the most part, the things on the outside are not good, sensitive things. They don't feel that good. And that forces us to go inward to find more peace. And as we find more peace, the outside becomes more chaotic, right? We become able to deal with it more, but it still becomes more chaotic. and you just go deeper and deeper inside yourself and find more and more peace there, right? Which at a certain point becomes really confusing to people, because that's how you can really be at peace when there's chaos going on around you. And so, and what I'm realizing more and more, and this is less a meditation thing and more an awareness thing, right? And so, I know in one of my last videos, I talked a lot about meditation. I go through periods of being really into it, and then I go through periods of meditation just taking up too much time, right? And you want to be able to find your balance even with that, right? So, and let go of the thing that says you're not disciplined or whatever, because there's a part of you that is more aware, and that's the thing that you're trying to find, to follow, right? And so, the awareness can be cultivated in many different ways. Meditation is one of the ways that you can cultivate that awareness, right? But ultimately, what you're trying to find is your own frequency. And as you find your frequency, that frequency begins to, well, it doesn't begin to, it's always been, right? But it becomes more frequent. It becomes more frequent. It's the velocity, whatever, the like that thing happens more often, right? So you oscillate more, right? But you don't go as far between. And it's this frequency that we find, that we begin to recognize and harmonize with, that actually interacts with the frequency of the world and begins to change it. And Paul Selig's Guides actually says you lift the world to the upper room. So as long as you stay in tune with yourself, in awareness, you actually begin to lift the things that you're seeing that you don't agree with. And Course in Miracles says you save the world by doing that. Jesus goes on further to say in the Course in Miracles that salvation of the world depends on you. And so this is the practice. This is the actual practice that I've found that life seems to be. No matter what the situation, if there's something going on outside, I need to anchor it inside. And as I anchor it inside, that thing outside will lose its strength. And it will be raised to my level of consciousness. It doesn't mean it's immediate. It doesn't mean it makes you feel better instantly. It doesn't even mean that you will feel more conscious. Actually, you'll probably feel more tired or brain foggy or clouded as you do it, because you're literally think of that thing as a muscle. You're giving that thing that lifts the world an exercise, and that's the same thing that you use to run your life. So you're gonna get exhausted, you're gonna get tired while you do this. But remember, the goal is not to be perfect at this. The goal is not to, now that you know the salvation of the world depends on you, the goal is not to hold this focus at all times so that the world will always be saved, because that'll just give you a panic attack. It'll make you freak out, and you'll lose consciousness the first day, basically, the first time you try to do it. So this is all about you keeping your level of consciousness and not letting the world bring you down, right? It's about bringing the world to you. So I hope that makes sense to you. I know this is another level of teaching, but really, it's super simple. I don't know who said it. Michelle Obama, maybe. When they go low, we go high, right? It actually is that. It's the decision to always raise, to always elevate yourself, than to lower yourself, right? And it's keeping that muscle strong, because it is a muscle and it does have to be exercised. Okay. God bless you. I thank you for watching. Find some way to find that peace inside of you. Do as Jesus said to do. Go into your closet or go into your room, close the door. For most of us, that means we need to pray or meditate. For some of us, it means we got to take a nap. For others, it means we got to exercise. There's a good book called Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I really recommend that you take a look at it. That's actually what we're all looking for. We're all looking for a flow state. Because the flow state is our divinity, right? And so we're all looking for that. And the best way to get there is by bringing the rest of the world with you. God bless you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.